Today, we journey back to the height of the Middle Ages, a world shaped by crusades, holy wars, rising monarchies, and the fragile balance between spiritual power and political ambition. Our focus is one of the most shocking and consequential acts of erasure in all of medieval history, the sudden and complete destruction of the Knights Templar. In the span of a single night, an order that had risen to unparalleled military, financial, and spiritual authority was branded heretical, hunted across Europe, and dismantled with ruthless precision. What remained were unanswered questions, missing treasure, legends of forbidden relics, and a chilling curse that echoed through centuries. Grab your coffee. Today, we are decoding the secrets King Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V tried to bury forever. We seek to understand what forbidden knowledge or dangerous political threat was so immense that it justified dismantling the most powerful order on earth. The story of the Knights Templar begins in the year 1119, in the aftermath of the First Crusade. What started as a humble brotherhood of 9 warrior monks quickly transformed into an international force. They swore vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, living austere lives. Yet the irony is that these humble monks would soon control more wealth than kings. Their official purpose was simple: protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. But over the next 2 centuries, their reputation soared. They became the elite shock troop warriors of the Crusades' fearless horsemen who charged enemy lines with terrifying discipline. The Pope granted them privileges unheard of at the time: exemption from taxes, freedom to cross borders, and the authority to operate independent of any king. The Templars answered only to the Pope, making them a sovereign entity within Christendom. Yet, their greatest influence did not come from the sword, but from their intellect. The Templars invented a secure financial network that spanned continents. They created an early form of deposit banking letters of credit that allowed nobles and pilgrims to store wealth in one Templar house and retrieve it in another. Their system was safer, faster, and more efficient than anything Europe had ever seen. They built fleets of ships, networks of commanderies, and vast estates that stretched across France, Spain, England, Portugal, Cyprus, and beyond. At their peak, the Templars became the first multinational corporation, the first global bank, and the custodians of enormous liquid wealth. This power was respected by popes, feared by kings, and envied by rivals. And with their bank vaults holding the fortunes of Europe, the Knights Templar became both indispensable and untouchable. But their downfall was inevitable, not because of heresy, but because their success made them the greatest threat to rising monarchs. And the man who struck the fatal blow was King Philip IV of France. Philip IV. Philip the Fair was neither fair nor noble. He was calculating, ambitious, and financially desperate. His wars against England and Flanders drained the French treasury. He had already resorted to expelling the Jews from France and seizing their property. He even attempted to tax the clergy, leading to conflict with the Pope, and still the debts grew. The Templars were his bankers. They financed his wars, maintained his vaults, and essentially acted as the financial spine of France itself. But Philip owed them enormous sums of money, sums he could never repay. And so, in a twist of medieval Machiavellian brilliance, he set his sights on destroying the order entirely. If the Templars were eliminated, their debt would evaporate, and their treasure would fall neatly into his lap. What followed was one of the most secretive and coordinated conspiracies in European history. For months, Philip spread rumors, forged confessions, and pressured the newly elected Pope Clement V, a man dependent on French protection, to take action against the order. Eventually, the Pope gave a reluctant, indirect approval. Philip seized on this hesitation as permission for a full-scale assault. Then came the infamous night. On Friday, the 13th of October, 1307, a date that would forever stain the calendar, Philip launched a kingdom-wide purge. Before dawn, his agents stormed every Templar house in France. Thousands of knights were rounded up and thrown into dungeons. The charges were as grotesque as they were unbelievable. Heresy, blasphemy, spitting on the cross, worshipping a goat-headed figure called Baphomet, engaging in forbidden rituals, and committing acts the Church deemed unspeakable. No historian believes these accusations today, but in the Middle Ages, such claims were politically lethal. Under brutal torture, fire, wreck, starvation, and crushing weights, many Templars confessed to almost anything. Their confessions were exactly what Philip needed. With legal justification secured, the Pope dissolved the order across Europe. Their lands were seized, their knights imprisoned, and their leaders condemned. But even amid Philip's triumph, one haunting mystery emerged. The vaults of the Templars were empty. When Philip's men stormed the Paris temple home of the Order's central treasury, they expected mountains of gold, jewels, relics, and documents. Instead, they found almost nothing. The treasure, if it ever existed in physical form, had vanished days or perhaps hours before the arrests. Where did it go? Some believe the Templar fleet, anchored at the port of La Rochelle, escaped with the treasure, sailing to Scotland, where English and French authority held no sway. Others argue that the Templars moved their wealth to Portugal, where the Order of Christ, widely believed to be a rebranded continuation of the Templars, soon emerged. Another theory claims the treasure was never really gold. The true wealth of the Templars lay in their banking system. Their notes of credit, ledgers, seals, and paper assets could be easily relocated, allowing the order to survive in secret. But the most sensational theory suggests the treasure wasn't wealth at all. Instead, it was knowledge. Knowledge so dangerous that church and crown alike wanted it erased. Some speculate that the Templars uncovered a relic in the Holy Land, perhaps the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, or documents proving a hidden bloodline that threatened the Church's authority. If the Templars possessed forbidden relics contradicting Christian doctrine, their destruction may have been an act of theological self-preservation disguised as political justice. The climax of the tragedy came in 1314. Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master, along with Geoffroy de Charny, were brought before a tribunal. They retracted their torture-induced confessions and declared their innocence. For this, they were sentenced to death. On a small island in the Seine River, in the heart of Paris, they were burned alive. As the flames consumed him, Jacques de Molay cried out a curse that stunned the onlookers. He summoned both Pope Clement V and King Philip IV to appear before God's judgment within a year. The curse became legend when, within months, both men were dead, one from illness, one from a sudden stroke. The Templar curse became the final supernatural punctuation mark on a saga already steeped in betrayal. Yet the order did not vanish entirely. In Portugal, they re-emerged as the Order of Christ. In Scotland, they merged with local knightly traditions. Their symbols and rituals filtered into later groups, most famously the Freemasons, and their legend continues to inspire endless theories. The fall of the Knights Templar remains a case study in the power of political greed. Their destruction was not about heresy. It was about eliminating a rival so wealthy and so autonomous that no king could ever hope to control them. And the missing treasure, whether gold, documents, or forbidden relics, remains an open wound in the historical record. Do you believe the Templars' greatest secret was their vast treasure? Or do you think they discovered forbidden knowledge that threatened the very foundation of the medieval church? Keep questioning everything.